Come to Terrace, BC, and it's easy to notice the love within the services in this small and spirited community. This is a show about the people and organizations that give back and make this area so awesome. This is Good in Terrace. In this episode, we meet Trish Seal, the founder of the Terrace, Raven and Crow Rehab Sanctuary.
This is the overwintering room. These are the cages that they go in. Primarily, we look after corvids and birds like that. And you'll notice that there's paper on the walls and a blanket on the floor and newspaper everywhere because they are very messy birds. They dip everything in water and then throw it around. So it's a major cleaning feat several times a day. But this is set up for receiving and or overwintering and or quarantine, depending on what we already have in care and what's coming into care. Yeah, so some birds, depending on the time of year that we get them in and their stage of growth and their health condition, feather condition, everything like that, we can't release them right away. So we can overwinter them. Like one of the birds that we got in last year was late in the year. It was a raven, and it ended up being in care for an extended time. If it were, we wouldn't put a raven in here because these aren't big enough cages, but if it were a smaller bird, we would overwinter them in here. And then as spring comes around, we would release them at the appropriate time of year after they've been rehabilitated and some physiotherapy and make sure they're waterproof and things like that. So, and then we have to have considerations of where we release them as well, because there are creatures can be territorial. And so you wouldn't want to release something into an area that's well established with another clan or family or group. So you have to be careful about that. You have to make sure that they have the appropriate habitat for the species. And yeah, so this is where long-term care stuff happens in overwintering. I'm trained as an environmental technician. I also have biologists that are in the area that I consult with. If it's something specific that falls under certain regulations, then I consult with the conservation officers. I also consult with some of our partners around the province, and I know my area. So I'm also an environmental technician as well as internationally trained wildlife rehabilitator. And so some of the organizations that we belong to are the Wildlife Rehabilitation Network of BC. Training was done through International Wildlife Council, which is an international organization. We work with the BC Conservation Officers. We work in partnership with Northern Lights Wildlife Rescue. Mars down on Vancouver Island, just in Merville outside of Campbell River. Owls down in Delta. And we're hoping to run a program in the next year in partnership with another organization with Natural Resources Training Group. And that, yeah, so that's kind of what it takes to get permitted. So there are other organizations, many across the country, the continent, and the world, and we actually all work together. We educate together. We support each other, and I can tell you that there's been times through this process where I just didn't know what to do, and I always could call someone to consult with. So there's a lot of consultations that take place, and then more so in the beginning, but then afterwards, after a while, you kind of get the hang of things, and things come more natural. You have an intuition about it, and based on solid knowledge and science and stats and things like that on what works and what doesn't work. Medical care is very similar to domestic animal medical care, so had to train for that. We do a physical exam when they come in and then make an assessment from there, consult, and then carry out actions based on those. This building was quite a big project to undertake. It cost a lot of money, and we're very grateful for the donations from Kitsilus K5T program and the Kitsilus Nation for helping with some of the construction materials that we needed. They donated them. They assisted with the design of the building. We've kind of run out of money, so Early Bird Timber Mart here in Terrace has opened an account for us. We get things at much reduced rates, some things at cost. So if anybody's looking for some way to help us out, we would really appreciate it if you go into Timber Mart and put funds on our account so that we can get what we need to finish this space. We also are looking for cedar siding or shingles for the outside of this building. We like to keep things as natural as possible. So no plastics. Obviously we have to with the door and things like that, but you'll see here in a minute how hard wildlife can be on domestic construction supplies. So come on in. Yeah, so this space, this is the outdoor space. So we have every containment for wildlife has to have a 2-door system. So the door that we just came in is the first door, and then this is the second door. And then we have an indoor area here if we have to overwinter some larger birds. It's a bit of a mess right now. So, but there's linoleum that's been donated. We're looking for an artist to do a mural of trees on there so that birds feel more comfortable. Most of what we do, other than what has been donated or what gets donated, is privately funded by myself and my husband, and people who donate when they bring in birds, or yeah, just we have a plant sale every year that Lynn will be talking about afterwards. And so this is the space that we rehabilitated a baby raven that was with us for much longer than he should have been. His name was Gax, and he is still around Terrace, and he's doing well. I see him all the time. He follows me in my vehicle when I'm driving around. And we had him for about 6 months. So this kind of space was really important for him. And then my husband constructed this. And so what we did was we added an escape hatch on here. So when it comes time for release, we can just open the door and they can come and go as they need until they feel safe to fly off. So that's what a soft release is. A hard release is when we take a bird out into the wild and release it, and there are no supports provided. It's does well with hunting. It's been in care for a minimal amount of time, and usually we try to, well, it's important that we know the exact location that any rescue comes from so that we can return them to their territory, and so that they're accepted and they don't have any additional barriers that they have to fight to hold their space. So
have they typically been accepted when you...
We've had very good success, yes. Like for instance with the golden eagle that you saw the video of on our Facebook group. He's doing very well. Gax is doing very well. He's still around. I suspect people are helping him out a bit, but I can't really do anything about that. I do ask that people not feed wildlife, because it can undo the hard work that we do, and it puts them at risk, because not everyone's friendly to wildlife, especially ravens and crows. So it's important that they maintain their fear of people. And if people are feeding them, that interferes with their fear of people, and that's what keeps them safe. And also human food isn't recommended. I know people think that wildlife eats anything, but actually they have a very specific diet. So that's really important too when people see baby birds or anything like that. And we are coming into nesting season, and here, depending on the species, that starts now and it's April and it goes right through till October. Nesting season itself is until about June. But we also then have fledging season, which is when they're learning to fly. So when people see a baby bird on the ground and they think, oh, it needs help, that is not the case in most situations. No matter how distressing it is to the human to watch, it is a process of their development and a necessary one, and the parents are nearby, so we recommend to not interfere. And that information is easily available by Googling, what do I do when I find a baby bird? It's available on the SPCA website. It's available on our Facebook page and any wildlife resource that you might look up regardless of the country. So.
Hello.
So, well, we'll introduce them afterwards. So I'd like to introduce Lynn Peerless. She's my right-hand woman for most of what I've been doing in the last couple of years, besides my husband, of course. And so Lynn, take it away.
Yeah, so this is our outside bird enclosure. We've got 3 birds in care here. I assist with a lot of the rescues. My husband and my adult children have also been kind of roped into helping. I think that in some ways that's my favorite part about being a part of this.
I think they call that voluntold.
Yeah.
So.
It's just the coming together of a community when we have a major bird rescue. We've had bystanders who had no intention of help. There is so much nonverbal communication and verbal communication and education that goes along whenever we do a rescue. And you know, we've had
sorry.
we probably had, you know,
That's wing 1.
probably had upwards of 10 people involved, and oftentimes none of us know each other before this. And so it's such an experience when you come out, when you do a rescue.
Yeah.
That you have that. And I mean, I'm an educator myself. I'm an education assistant at the high school here, and yeah, we've been bringing in some of our students to do work experience here and things like that. That it has been just great.
Hi, Jaden.
It's been great for the kids and great for the birds. So we can do that. Our next big thing that I'm working on is we're doing a plant fundraiser. We're looking for donations of plants. So when people are splitting house plants, getting their gardens ready, planting, give us your extras. We aim every year for the 2 weekends following May long weekend. And so we take these plants and then we turn around and sell them by donation. So you come to the farmer's market, you pick out a plant and then pay what you want to pay. And all the money comes to us. Will we have our t-shirts available this year?
We'll have our t-shirts available. We'll also, as long as the farmer's market allows it, we'll have neem oil, organic 100% neem oil that is a non-toxic way of managing pests in your garden. And it actually is very good for your tomatoes. We don't grow neem. Green neem doesn't grow here, but we do bottle it ourselves, and it has our very own label on it. The Loop program has also helped with the food diversion program to divert meat products to us. So that would be non-freezer burnt, non-rotten chicken, turkey, and pork and lamb. I know it sounds like a very posh diet, but that's what we need.
That's what they eat?
That's what we need to feed them. That's right. Yeah. So when I say we're privately funded, that means if we're not getting help with that, we pay for everything. Come on in. So we'll start with Mr. Raggedy down there. We just call him Wing. So when we do intake, we assign an intake number to all of the creatures that we bring in. Sorry, and maybe I should. Yeah, there we go. Kate. Just shh. Bonnie, shush. Oh my goodness. Freya, maybe, yeah. The biggest cause of wildlife ending up needing to be rescued or rehabilitated is human interaction or human interference. So human interaction can include things like vehicle strikes, taking babies from their territory where a mother might be hidden but standing by when they're fledging, or they get separated because of human activity like hiking and things like that. The mother will run away and the baby will get separated. That can happen when people are out canoeing in marshlands and things like that as well. So with this little guy, he was assigned a number when he came in, but when it became apparent that he had been imprinted by humans, and the story that I was given was not easy to follow, but it was determined that he had been through the care for an extended period of months of 5 different people who had been snuggling and cuddling him and then didn't realize the damage that was being done to his feathers, did not know the appropriate diet to feed him, and he was covered in food and feces. So that's why he looks so raggedy. And birds molt once a year, and molting means that's when they lose their feathers and their feathers grow back. And here, for our crow population and most birds, it's September. It's the end of the summer before the fall. They grow back nice feathers. So he's not releasable because he has been imprinted to humans. He has no fear of humans, and his feathers are not waterproof. And he doesn't have any tail feathers. So it will take until September for those to grow back. But he's a pretty happy little fellow. He's not in any pain. And when they've been treated like pets like that, they're no longer really wildlife. So they are, but they aren't. Wildlife are not pets. It might seem cool to have a crow. It's not cool for the crow. So moving on, we've got these two up here. So the one that flies a lot here, hi Bonnie, that's Bonnie. She came to us in, I think, 2018, and she came with another bird that we realized that they were not going to be accepted back by the community of crows that they came from. So we gave them names as well, which at that time happened to be Bonnie and Clyde. Clyde was released successfully, a soft release here, and then turned out to be Claudette. Claudette had 4 babies that she proudly brought back to us and strutted around on a regular basis, and that might be her up there now cawing, or it might be another release, wing 1. So this is wing 2, that would be possibly wing 1. We don't band their legs, that's not something that we do. So the one that's hopping around is Bonnie, and Bonnie is the one that was remaining. Bonnie has a feather growth problem in that when she molts, between now and when she molts, a lot of her feathers break off. It's not due to diet or anything like that. We suspect that it's genetic, but she's pretty happy. She loves hanging around. She knows Claudette. Claudette comes to visit when there's no people in here. You'll see crows on top of here visiting, the wild ones. And so Bonnie is in long-term care because of her feather growth problem, and as a result of her feather growth problem and being socialized to humans, she can't be released. Then we have Freya, and this is Freya. Hang on. Hey, baby. Okay, yeah, hang on. Where's Freya? Okay, baby. There we go. Hey! And you can see how hand-friendly Freya is. Freya was reportedly raised for most of her life before she came to us as a from a chick from a fledge, I guess. Don't poop on me. She doesn't poop on me anymore, but There's a lot of poop in wildlife rescue. I'm just going to tell everybody it's not as glamorous as you might think.
Does she know not to poop on you?
I think she does now, yeah, because she hasn't pooped. I'm going to say that now. She's going to poop on me. But so Bonnie came to me, and she was in pretty good shape. But it was determined that she's blind. She has white plaques over her eyes. And I started noticing that anytime that she was being cared for or anything like that, that she'd have to peck and bite to make sure, like, you'll notice that, like, now she knows my hand, right? But in the beginning, she'd have to check to make sure it was there, physically check to make sure it was there. So she doesn't fly because she can't see. So for that reason, she can't be released. And we've determined that because she was in care of humans, and probably likely not fed the correct diet, and possibly in a cage in front of a window 7 days a week, which crows do not normally do, that it damaged her eyes. So she will be in care for the remainder of her life. And she's very sweet. So we try not to have any birds in care, ideally. We didn't start off with any birds in care, and we tried to keep it that way. But we just do the best that we can, and we try to have the quickest turnaround as possible. The key things, if somebody is concerned about a bird, is first check the baby bird. What do I do when I see a baby bird? Google that. If you're still not sure about it, or if you see blood, and I mean blood, so if a wing is hanging down and there is blood, then give us a call, or local wildlife rehabilitation in your area. That goes for any species of bird or animal. You can use the RAP line, which is easy. That number is easily accessible on the internet. You too.
Just busy today.
And the best thing is to not interfere. You can observe and you can take notes, but do it from a distance and don't interfere, because if there is a mother around, which there likely is, we don't want to interfere with that process of the bond with the mother and the fledge or the baby or whatever it might be. Don't feed it anything. If you do take something in that is clearly injured, don't feed it any water or food until you've consulted with your local wildlife rehabilitation professional. I had done domestic animal care for about 12 years prior. And it just seemed like a natural transition for me. And then when COVID hit, of course, things changed, and I chose to close my domestic animal care business. But there was still a great need for wildlife rehabilitation, and there was a gap in services in our area. I've learned a lot since then. I've learned what my limitations are, that's for sure. So for the first few years, we tried to service the entire north. And that is a recipe for burnout. So we are very specific with the species that we look after now. So we primarily take our calls from other wildlife rescue organizations, the conservation officers, and in certain cases in our direct community, we will go out and assist with capture when we're able, but we do not go out at night. We work on a buddy system, so we do not go out alone, and so there's some safety protocols involved in that. So I know sometimes people don't understand why we don't run out in the middle of the night down the highway, like a wildlife ambulance with a crew, but we just don't have those resources, and it's not safe to do that. And anybody who helps us has to go through training, and that is also time consuming. So we do offer some training, but there has to be some give back for that, and there has to be some commitment. The RAP line. This is a key number that everyone needs to have if you care about wildlife. While it does, RAP does stand for Report All Poachers and Polluters, and it's the Conservation Officer 24-hour hotline, which is 1-877-952-RAPP, which means the number is 7277. It's not just for poachers and polluters. It's for any wildlife encounters that you might have. any injured wildlife that you might have, especially in the protected species like raptors or migratory birds or protected birds like loons. Encounters that you may have with any mammals, be they brushes with bears or cougars, anything like that. So that is a very, very important number. So you can see they're due for a beak trim, they're due for nail trims. They get, every month they get beak and nail trims because they're not in their normal wild habitat. They're not able to naturally wear those things down. So that's something, one of the tasks that I do on a regular basis. Inside of the overwintering cage, and so there's 3 perches inside of there, and for stimulation over the winter we do a multitude of different things. So I don't put anything plastic in there except for the dishes, because they need to be sturdy, and what's available. So we, pine cones, sticks, things like that, activities for them. And Bonnie has started, it started innocently enough where Bonnie would just go hop, hop. So I would say hop, hop. And then she'd go down on the bottom and I'd go boing. And then she'd do hop and I'd say hop. And if I didn't do that, she would go and do it over and over again until I said hop, hop, boing, boing. So then this year she's got a new component to that where she jumps on the sidebars and I say jump. But again, if I don't do it when she says, she'll do it until I say it, and then she'll do a different activity. And then Freya started doing the same thing, but she can't see very well. She knows where her perches are, but she so she'll just do hop and then stay there and wait for me to go yay. Has started doing boing. So his cage is smaller because obviously he's, he doesn't have the tail feathers for balance and things like that. But it's only this far from the bottom from his perch on the floor, but once he has his food, he'll go boing.
Aww.
And then look at me to go, yay! Oh, you know what we're talking about, don't you? Oh, yay! Oh, they're so smart. Oh. See, they need their tail feathers.
I was gonna say, is he really affected, by his tail feathers?
And he stays low, and I want him to stay low, so I've kind of created a barrier for him there.
Oh yeah.
Because I don't want him to fall and injure himself, or he's not. His feathers aren't like the way they should be there to protect him. So. They get a lot of bad stigma historically, but they're actually quite, in many cultures, an honored species of bird. Yeah, she got me. Yeah, honored. That's right. Okay, maybe I'll move over. So, Freya. So that's what happens. That's how glamorous wildlife rescue is. You get pooped on. Yeah, I think that, I've always, I like people, and I've always worked with people, but I think in some ways I got a little burned out working with people. Wildlife, you can understand when they're fighting you, when you're helping them, and you can understand when they're trying to hurt you and they don't know any better. It's fear-based or pain-based, and that helps me to understand people better, because people really aren't that much different. We just wear masks, we hide things, and we're very much like wildlife. And in my previous career, I worked with people. I worked with the wild ones, so it's not a stretch for me to work with these wild ones, and it's actually in a lot of ways quite therapeutic for me. So.